Alrighty, yo, what is going on, everybody? It's your boy, Mr. DDG94, back with another reaction video. Today we're going to react to why Floyd struggled against the Drunken Master, aka Emmanuel Augustus. If y'all don't know about Emmanuel Augustus, this is the most underrated fighter y'all have never heard of. Now, I know y'all may go ahead and look him up and look at his record, but listen, his record does not emulate his skills. Let me tell y'all about this man. This man had his own style. And because, you know, the boxing aficionados, because they feel some type of way, they will always judge him. They will always give him low scores on his card because of his style. He fought in a manner that was unnatural. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't your typical boxer. He was very unnatural with how he went about his boxing, bro. And Floyd Mayweather will always, no matter how Floyd may change up a lot, but the one name he never changes up on is Emmanuel Augustus. He will never change up on it. He will always tell you that Emmanuel Augustus was one of the hardest fights he ever had to fight because he was facing somebody who was very unorthodox. Like, he was very unorthodox, very unpredictable. You couldn't time the opening, because the thing is, he was always open for a shot, but the thing is, you had to touch him to get the shot. And the problem is, his style was so different that it was hard to get a shot off on him. But he really won more fights than he lost, because his opponents really couldn't touch him. But like I said, the boxing aficionados, they would give him low scores on the card, so that way when the decision came up, the other boxer would win, because they did not want that to be promoted in their boxing. They didn't want that type of style to be promoted in their boxing. Basically, they was just some hating ass niggas. But that's where we're going to keep it at for right now. But anyways, let's get right into this video.
Every once in a while, two fighters meet with such uniquely different styles and personalities that something amazing happens. The fight seems to take on a life of its own and becomes legendary.
Look at him, Floyd can't touch him.
Almost no one thought that this would be the case when the young rising star, Pretty Boy Mayweather, was set to take on Emmanuel Augustus, a boxer who had faced impressive competition but had a less than stellar record. But they should not have been the least bit surprised, because Emmanuel Augustus was no true journeyman. He was the Drunken Master. Continuously robbed on the scorecards, Augustus put on outlandish displays of skill anyways. Never bitter, he refused to change his style, regardless of how the judges felt about it. Great fighters can get away with incredible displays of footwork and timing, but Augustus could do this while dancing, grooving to a symphony of destruction that only he could hear. It's almost sad he wasn't a modern-day MMA fighter, so we could have seen him breakdance his way into scoring an ankle submission. My video on Augustus's techniques has over 10 million views, and he deserves all the credit for that, having one of the most interesting and skillful styles of all time. The short version is that he was comfortable fighting in any position or range, and stellar at smoothly transitioning between them all. This gave him near infinite possibilities on which direction he could move, how he could implement head movement, and which angles he could set up shots from. In style and temperament, he was the exact opposite of Floyd. Although Pretty Boy Mayweather was a much more aggressive fighter than Money Mayweather would become, with 17 of his 23 fights ending by knockout, Mayweather's style was always built on calculation and precision. He paired a Philly shell guard with a high guard and was excellent at countering from either. He preferred to limit both his opponents and his own offensive options so that he could bet on his superior smarts, reflexes, and timing to outscore them. He could then get much more aggressive once his competitor had been worn down. While most expected Floyd to have an easy time breaking Augustus down, in reality, the Drunken Master would take Mayweather into a trial by fire. It remained to be seen if he could take the heat. The fight got interesting right away. Although Augustus was the one pressing forward, Mayweather was the more aggressive of the two by far. He unloaded crisp, sharp lead hands, and even the occasional long combination. But for all that, his punches rarely hit home, and this was all due to the defensive wizardry of the Drunken Master. Augustus feinted and lunged, playing with rhythm to create constant threats and disrupt Mayweather's offensive timing. And although his own Philly shell guard was not as polished as Floyd's, when combined with his head movement and footwork, it was more than enough to get the job done. When was the last time you saw Mayweather miss so many shots? Extravagant as always, Augustus even jumped to switch shift into southpaw just to block one shot before switching right back. Meanwhile, the Drunken Master's broken rhythm and strange timing was making it hard for Pretty Boy to time his own defense. In a few instances, Mayweather got caught with seemingly blatant shots. By round 2, the Drunken Master was tacking punches onto his stellar head movement. And not just a few. Mayweather's style requires a lot of subtle adjustments predicated on incredible reflexes to stay safe. But Augustus was overloading his capacity to keep up with countless punches from all angles, a ridiculous anime-like tactic that was actually working in real life. However, Mayweather is a master at neutralizing his opponent's offense. He framed against Augustus's head to read him better and freeze him in place, stopping his off-rhythm threats, and following up with well-placed shots the moment Augustus grew too relaxed. In truth, Mayweather was such a sharp boxer that he'd actually tested out this tactic at the tail end of round 1. But when Augustus got hurt, he pressed forward even harder. Floyd is the kind of boxer who loves to take away his opponent's options and simplify the fight to where he can dominate where he's strongest. But the Drunken Master was the exact opposite. He preferred to force complex exchanges, regardless of if he took damage or not. Smiling all the while because he so enjoyed the thrill of the fight. Mayweather smiled back, perhaps happy that he had finally found someone who would test him. But as it turned out, this was all just preamble. The next several rounds would turn out to be a high-level display of back-and-forth insanity. Both men took big risks and put everything on the line, showing off their best tricks of the trade. Mayweather used some complex footwork of his own, pivoting with his cross to take an outside angle, then framing to off-balance Augustus and stay safe before throwing another shot from offline. As always, Mayweather showed an incredible ability to catch opponents mid-movement, landing from tight angles that caught Augustus unaware. These punches didn't need a huge load-up to do damage. They hurt because of their timing. And while Augustus had the ability to counter mid-exchange, even after taking a shot, Mayweather had the endurance and concentration to last longer and end the exchange with a punctuation mark. What really helped Mayweather here was just how strict he was in maintaining his balance and positioning at all times. But for all that, the Drunken Master was putting on a jaw-dropping performance. Mayweather liked to fight on the center line, but Augustus kept finding ways to cross that line. He linear shifted past Mayweather, turning to catch him from southpaw as he tried to exit the exchange. Speaking of, his ability to adjust his feet to any position from any stance also allowed his torso complete range of motion, which meant that it was much easier for him than most to angle in punches through the small cracks in Floyd's armor. As the fight neared the midway point, to the surprise and downright shock of many, both Augustus and Floyd had been hurt. In the 5th, the Drunken Master trapped Mayweather on the ropes and managed to deal more damage and put more pressure on him than anyone had up until that time ever. But Mayweather proved himself to be an incredibly brave fighter with a lot of heart. He endured the barrage and fought his way off the ropes. getting aggressive once the Drunken Master had finally run out of steam. Even still, most were stunned to see that the momentum of the fight had shifted to Augustus, even if only briefly. And a big part of his ability to do this was that Emmanuel had found ways to pick holes in Floyd's Philly shell. I've recently come across a fight breakdown from a hype channel that claims to know how Julio Cesar Chavez picked apart the Philly shell, and I'll be addressing that in depth at the end of this video. But for now, let's take a look at a few smart tactics that worked for the Drunken Master. Augustus tended to set up his power punches with jabs, targeting the small opening that the Philly shell position inherently leaves around the chest to the chin, depending on guard position. Targeting one made it much harder for Floyd to defend the other. He would then throw his power punches after the jab had prompted Mayweather to create more openings by either tightening his guard or turning. The Drunken Master also took advantage of the forearm frame commonly paired with the shell against Mayweather, instantly targeting his exposed ribs anytime Mayweather tried to create some distance. But a huge inherent problem with facing the Philly shell is the powerful counters that derive from head movement. But Augustus had a smart way to deal with these head movement threats as well, targeting Mayweather's side whenever he crouched, and anticipating the roll and pull counter so that he could in turn counter the counter. By throwing the entire kitchen sink at Mayweather, Augustus was pushing the fight further than anyone had anticipated. However, for every barrage of well-crafted combinations that Augustus used to frustrate Mayweather, Floyd would come back with a few sharp, tight, stinging shots that seemed to bother Augustus much worse. And this afforded Mayweather the ability to pile on even more punches. But astonishingly, Augustus recovered every time and came back even stronger. Perhaps hoping to break the stalemate, in round 6, both men planted themselves mid-ring, stood in place, and refused to give an inch. In the end, it was Mayweather who broke the standoff, walking himself back to a defensive position on the ropes. After the bell sounded the end of the round, Floyd, a man who would later shrug off an intentional groin shot like someone on the street was trying to hand him a coupon, seemed uncharacteristically fired up. Then, bizarrely, in round 7, Mayweather switched to southpaw. Whether this was because he had injured his hand, as he would later reveal was the case, just looking to give Augustus another look, or simply showing off because he felt Augustus was done, we may never know. What we can know is that Mayweather had his best moment of the fight from a stance he rarely, if ever, fought from, pummeling Augustus with a barrage of well-placed punches. In round 8, Augustus returned the favor, switching to southpaw himself and targeting Pretty Boy's body like it owed him money. By the standards of the rest of the fight, round 8 was fairly slow. But as it turned out, it was only the calm before the storm. Both men had been through absolute hell, but in the end, it was Mayweather's cold calculation that made the difference. He kept backing up, inch by inch, staying just out of distance, all the while baiting a wary Augustus into a hard body shot that seemed to take all of the steam out of him. Augustus bravely marched forward, but his movement was severely stunted. Compared to his normal antics, the Drunken Master seemed frozen in place, and even when he thought a bit, Mayweather was still landing at will. Augustus put on his best poker face, but Mayweather was not fooled, and piled on until Augustus's corner mercifully threw in the towel. Afterwards, Mayweather spoke of the skills of the Drunken Master, saying that he had heard that Augustus had been repeatedly robbed, and he definitely believed that to be the case. He stated that his record did not reflect his skills. Ever the perfectionist, Floyd at times seemed almost apologetic, even though his performance and his heart had been impressive. In the end, Floyd gave the Drunken Master a painful defeat, but also added to his legend. Each fight that Mayweather won from then on, validating how incredible it was that Augustus had achieved what he had. Now, time to do something difficult. I've run across a popular video from a hype...
Alright, we don't care about that. We just only care about this part. But anyway, so that's just gonna about do it for this one, man. Yeah, man, the Drunken Master, Emmanuel Augustus, man. Y'all gotta give that boy his props, man. I gotta find some more videos on him and we can dissect his career a little bit more. Because he's definitely an underrated cat that doesn't get the appreciation that he deserves. But anyways, that's just gonna about do it for this one. I'll see you on the next video. Till then, peace out.